Well, a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, campers, wherever you are in the world. Geez, I've missed you. I hope you're all going really, really well. It's Andy here. It's a kind of an Ask Andy Anything, but we've got a very, very special guest with us, as you can see. The incredible, the luminescent, shall we say, Lisa, no, I was trying to find a word with L there in my mind, Lisa NOVAK from NOVAK Property Group. She has shot to prominence in the real estate space and done it in such a cool way. Lisa, how are you?
I'm great. I'm really good. How are you, more importantly, Andy, in lockdown? Last day of solitary confinement.
The last day of enforced incarceration. It's looking all right. I mean, but having said that, Victoria last night got absolutely battered with wild winds and storms and all that sort of stuff. So property managers down here in Vic are having a whale of a time right now, it has to be said. They are absolutely copping it left, right and centre at the minute.
Goodness
no, look, it's like, I think someone posted earlier today, just when we get relief from the lockdown, Mother Nature goes, hold my beer. And just whackety whack. Well, but anyway, it's all good.
Nice day to be inside.
Indeed it is. It's not a bad day to be locked up, to be honest. Anyway, Lisa, look, thank you so much for joining us. The reason why I've got you on, and this is something, since I put it out there just yesterday, this has caused a bit of a buzz, this conversation, because of the fact that we're going to tackle a very, very sensitive topic, shall we say, but it's almost like a sensitive topic that everyone knows about, but not many people really, get stuck into. And that is the fear of being judged. Now, I know you reasonably well now, and I've been watching you through the course of your rapid rise to where you've got to. Before we talk about this whole topic of being judged and all the rest of it, before we get a bit D&M on it, give us a bit of an overview. Give us a bit of the genesis of your journey, because there's still obviously a few people that won't know who you are, but give us a bit of a journey, your history up to here, as to how you've come through from a real estate point of view to this point.
Okay, so Mark, my husband, and myself opened up our own business called NOVAK Properties about 20 years ago now. So I was in the background of our business for about 18 of those 20 years, or 17 of those 20 years. But I'd always wanted to get into real estate sales. It's something I'd honestly wanted to do my whole life, but the business needed me elsewhere and my kids needed me as well. And it was about 3 years ago, Andy, when I decided, you know what, it's now or never. I'm going to jump in head first and I'm going to do sales. But there were so many things that I had observed from the outside looking in to the industry, not just to our business, that I just couldn't understand, And one of those things was why all agents seem to do things the same way. And it wasn't until I actually jumped into sales that I realized that so many of my observations were right. I had a client, just to fast forward the story here, but once I jumped into sales, I had a lovely vendor of mine who needed to sell his property, and he didn't have any money for marketing, and he wouldn't accept any money either from me for marketing. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to put this onto my Facebook page, crazy but true, 3 years ago, and see what traction I get there. Anyway, I was ridiculed at that stage by agents in the industry who'd told me that I was making a fool of myself, doing these raw, authentic videos and putting them out onto my social media. But needless to say, I sold the property that week for a record price off my Facebook page. And I really deliberated at that stage whether or not I was going to do it again. Do one of these raw, authentic videos again, because I copped a bit of flack from the industry. But then I sort of rose above it, Andy, and I thought, you know what? This is actually not about me, and it's not about them. It's about the client, and it's about the needs of the client. And that mind switch changed everything for me. And here we are 3 years down the line. Certainly built a name for myself on social media with selling properties right off the back of it. And I've sold close to 200 properties now off my social media in that 3-year period.
Now, let's get really stuck into it, right?
Yep.
What sort of crap were you copying? Like when you said that you were copying flack, like what sort of shit were you copying? Like what was it? Was it about the raw nature of it, the fact that it wasn't professionally done? Were you getting grief for your appearance? What was the sort of stick that you were getting?
So it was more that, this wasn't the way that the industry did real estate. They considered it, not everyone. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I had a lot of great supporters and still do. I have, a huge amount of support from the industry now. But back then, a lot of people were saying it's unprofessional. The videos are unprofessional. We don't do videos that way. Like, who takes a video of a $1 or $2 million, $3 million property with their iPhone and puts it on Facebook? That simply wasn't the way we did real estate. So, it was mostly that. Anything new, Andy, is going to get ridiculed. They're laughing at you until they're not, until you're doing better than them, and then it's not so funny anymore.
And I want to interrupt there because you say, people fear anything new. I'd say that people fear anyone that's new. Anyone that shoots to prominence. I mean, before we connected, I think a lot of it, and let's face it, the industry's got a massive issue with the tall poppy syndrome, right? Let's say it as it is. There's a big problem that a lot of the industry has when it comes to seeing others do well. Now, I know, and you, thankfully, you weren't privy to a few of these conversations, a few of these sort of comments on social media, or you did, and you chose to ignore them or whatever. But there was a lot of stuff that was said about you, like whether it was the unprofessionalism, whether who the hell is this chick? How dare she? What is she doing that's actually new? Because look, let's face it. I mean, one of the narratives that I've been aware of is Facebook Live has been around forever. Like and it's been around for so long. Facebook, these selfie videos have been around for so long. How is this chick now saying that what she's doing is brand new and all this sort of jazz? And the observation
but no one was doing it,
Exactly.
So of course, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Snapchat, WeChat, I mean, all these different portals, they've been around forever. And that was always like, this is always where I was really confused. I was like, I don't understand. We've got this social media right here at our disposal. Why is no one using it? I've just come back from ARIC, which is the largest real estate conference in Australasia, training 3,000 plus real estate agents on how to list and sell property on social media. Still no one uses it. And I think this is what we're going to address today. What is the reason behind that?
Yeah, it baffles me, right? So because the thing that, and this is where we get to the crux of the conversation, right? Because ultimately, because of that tall poppy syndrome, I feel the biggest thing that holds a lot of people back from doing well in this game is this fear of being judged. This is the barrier to entry for so many people in what is a human-based industry, right? It's a human-to-human based industry. When it comes to being judged, right? So early on, how you said, even though you got a ridiculously good result, you still deliberated. You were still, oh shit, should I keep doing this?
Well, I was new, but I was new in sales. So when you're new and all of a sudden you're doing something that's like so left of center, and then you've got people saying to you like, we don't real estate that way. I mean, you don't know this, but I'm telling you, and you should probably stop doing it because you're making a fool of yourself.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, hang on a sec. I just got that vendor who's terminally ill a phenomenal price, and I don't see what that's got to do with me. And I don't see what that's got to do with you. Isn't that about them? And that's what pushed me to do the next one.
Yeah, I think that's probably part of the key to how you handle being judged is the fact that whenever judgment comes your way, it's irrelevant because it's not what you're doing is not even about you.
It's not about me. It's about them. It's about the clients, you know. And this is the thing, as an industry, we need to make sure that we are not being robots, that we're not doing what we've always done. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the right way. We need to make sure that as an industry, we are listening to what the needs of our consumers are. That's really important. What does that vendor want? And I'll always ask my vendor. That's the very first way I start off doing my listing presentation. I'll sit down and say, Andy, tell me, what's important to you? Are you price driven? Are you time driven? Let's just have a discussion about what you need, not what the industry tells us that you need. That's a really important question to ask.
Oh, big time, big time. Ultimately, we need to make sure that we can, ultimately the professionalism and the expertise comes in being able to apply your knowledge to anyone's situation and have your knowledge adapt to their situation, not have their situation adapt to your plan A or your square peg round hole thing. Now,
but can I just add there that the people are speaking, the people have spoken. The people being the clients, being the vendors and being the buyers. So, if we look at the numbers, I've been in sales now for 3 years, and I've been able to achieve in that 3-year period what many agents have not been able to achieve in 20 years, with all due respect. But if we want to have an absolute honest heart-to-heart conversation here, I need to ask the question, why? Why did I cut ground so quickly? Because people voted.
Point.
The vendors said, we have a choice. The buyers said, we have a choice and we like this, and they voted.
And the hilarious thing is, right, and that's such a good point. One of the main reasons to why you have shot to prominence, and you really have, right? You really, really have. And this is the thing that I really like about you, is the fact that you're turning around going, I'm not doing anything special, gang. I'm just being me in front of a camera, but it's the people that are shooting you to prominence because of the fact that because they're voting with their properties, they're voting with their list, they're voting with their business by giving it to you and creating an extra degree of momentum.
100%. Now, 95% of my appraisals and my sales come from my social media. Fact. 5 to 6 appraisals a day drop into my social media. People saying, hey, Lisa, I really love what you do on your social media. Would you mind coming and appraising my property? As I said, the people have spoken. So, and that's what matters. And that's what I'm saying, Andy, when I say we need to be careful as an industry that we are listening to what the needs of our consumers are. What do they want? Where are the eyeballs? They're on social media. So, and no disrespect whatsoever to those real estate portals. I use them if that's what my vendors want. And if that's, and as an agent, make no mistake, it's my job to make sure that I am getting the best price for my vendors. And if that means that I need to get them onto those real estate portals, that's exactly what I'll do. And I do it. But if we've gotten that rock star offer and that buyer's come right off social media, what do we need to go to the real estate portals for?
Now, I want to go a little bit off piste a little bit here. Have you copped any personal flack?
In what way? Like people actually?
Has anybody sort of in any of this any of the sort of negative comments and all that sort of stuff? Have you copped anything from a personal point of view, whether it's appearance, whether it's how dare she, whether it's anything along those lines? Have you copped anything that you've taken?
Look, I think anytime you're going to put yourself out there, and even if it's just on a DL drop and you're doing 10,000 of those around your area, you're going to get the disgruntled person saying, which part of no junk mail did you not see in my letterbox? Stop putting your DL cards in there. So, and social media is much the same. You put yourself out there on any platform, you're going to cop some flack. There is no doubt about it. It's how you deal with that. So for me, I'm just out there doing my job. You know, the person that says your hair's too blonde, you wear too much makeup, you know, like this is, really? Delete, block. That's it. We don't even enter into a conversation. They don't deserve to be on my channel. It's my channel.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. And this is where because a very good friend of ours, and I won't name names, but you'll know who I'm talking about, copped heat from a position that she was in, and by accident was sent an email that referred to the size of her boobs, and that she can't possibly, do her job properly when she looks like the way she looks, and and she puts herself out there on Instagram as this blonde, well-chested individual, right? And you know what I'm talking about,
yeah.
And that's the sort of stuff that is holding so many people back, is the very personal thing. And look, even if it's not personal, but even if it's business related, like a DL drop, like this isn't the way that it's been done. A lot of people still take a lot of those things quite personally as well.
And I get that. And I do understand that. And, and I truly believe that the reason a lot of people don't do the raw, authentic video on social media is because they are worried about what other people are going to think. Right? But the onus needs to come off yourself. It really does. It needs to come off yourself, because this is our job. It's our job. You can get the same reaction walking into a listing presentation with no camera, and you walk away and someone says, I don't know, she just didn't make any sense. She's just a dumb blonde. The reality is, this is not about me. This is about what I need to be doing as a job. Now, if you're a real estate agent and you are not putting yourself out there on social media, I truly do believe that you are a dying commodity. I do believe that, right? You've got to ask yourself, that newspaper is almost obsolete. It certainly is here. Northern Beaches, here in Sydney, we do not have a real estate section in our local newspaper anymore. It's gone. It's been gone now for about 12 months. Oh, I think we just froze there. I've got you back.
Yeah, it's all good.
So, we don't have a newspaper. We don't have a real estate section in our local newspaper anymore. You guys need to ask yourself, what are you replacing that with? Where are you? Where have you gone? So if you're no longer in the newspaper and you're not on social media, where are you? So this is not about you. This is what you need to be doing if you don't want to become obsolete, right? We've got to rise above those comments. We really do. I simply just block and delete, and I don't give it a second thought. I really don't. I don't even read those comments. They're few and far between, because I'm genuinely out there helping people, and people respect that.
Have you ever been affected by this? I doubt that there's been. I mean, because we all have weak moments, right? I have weak moments. Like, I know for a fact. Last year, a very real example. Last year, I did a PDF that was talking about becoming the professional human, 6 elements to being a professional human, and I put it out there. And in one of these real estate forums, one of these real estate groups where they love to have a bit of a dig at people and whatnot, I had someone screenshot it, put it up on there, and say, who's this dickhead? Who the fuck does he think he is? What the fuck does he think he knows? Here's another dickhead who thinks he knows everything. And I've got to be honest, right? I saw that and I was like, oh,
ouch.
That's shit. Have you ever had any of these sort of comments where it just caught you off guard for a moment and you've gone, that's shit?
Yep. Yes. The honest answer is yes. Early on, definitely, particularly when I didn't really know what I was doing and I was breaking ground in the industry and didn't know it at that time. I didn't realize I was creating so much disruption. I certainly questioned that. And I thought, is this good for our brand or is it not good for our brand? Am I making a fool of myself? Is it true? And again, I kept coming back to the fact that the industry doesn't have anything there for these people. They don't have a $0 marketing option. And I just kept coming back to it. And I kept coming back to it. And I think that's really what made me rise above it, was that there was more in helping people. I got more out of that than worrying about what other people were thinking. And so I really think that helped me to rise above it. I really do. Maybe I'm better at the average of kind of brushing a lot of that stuff off. I don't know. But I don't give it a second thought ever anymore. I really don't. I literally do. And don't get me wrong, I do get people saying, oh my God, why are you coming up on my social media? Go away. And I'm like, you can just press the unfollow button. You'll never see me again.
You've got a tremendously supportive partner there in Mark, who you two, clearly are an incredible unit, both professionally and personally. Look, it's very obvious that that's the case, and kudos to you both there. In quiet, like over the dinner table, and because Mark puts himself out there as well, right? He does the same, but obviously him being a guy, there's and that let's be completely frank about this, right? There is the added pressure for women, I would suggest, because of the whole, judgment of what I see first as opposed to what I hear. Whereas with guys, they don't necessarily have that judgment to get past, do they, right? But have you two ever sat down at a dinner table and gone, I really can't be fucking this anymore?
So, Mark, and you're right, absolutely, without a doubt, he is the world's most supportive husband, because this was Mark's whole thing, right? Like the whole business, this was Mark's gig, not mine. I was just, helping out a couple of days a week with a bit of marketing in the background for the last 17 years. And then all of a sudden I came along, and we always have a laugh about it because Mark's like, you kind of stole the show. What happened there? But it was never intentional, and he is so incredibly supportive, and he really does, without sounding cheesy, he really does just let me be me. That's the reality of it. He's the world's proudest husband. But we're very fortunate because we actually both really love doing what we do. And we work together all day, every day, but we don't see each other at all because I'm doing my thing, he's doing his. We can get competitive sometimes, but we really work well together, Andy. And, when you've got a husband and wife team that can work well together, it's a pretty magical combination, in all honesty. I don't think many people can do it, but for the ones that can, and it's, and it works, it's phenomenal.
And I bet that the level of empathy that is within that office, just not just between you two, but just that level of empathy that then flows through the whole office. Because you just picked up a commercial agency award as well. I think was it earlier in the year, because you do your sort of news show every morning and whatnot as well. And you can tell that the confidence and that ability to make sure that it is the people that are the most important ones in this whole interaction, that is obviously percolating through your entire team as well.
We pretty much start off with, here we go, guys, here's your welcome manual, and here, say hi to this camera. Yeah. Everyone does it. I mean, that goes right throughout our business. We're a big multimedia agency. So we often say that we're part multimedia and part real estate, which again, I truly believe you have to be these days. When we built, so we've got an amazing office. For those of you guys that don't know, this is a green screen behind me. You guys on my Facebook page will be wondering why I've got a green screen, but on the camera over here, there's a beautiful office. That is actually our office. We have a 6-meter antipasto bar. We have an indoor garden where, we look like an Apple store. We look like part 6-star hotel. And it's the real experience when you walk in here. You get antipasto platters and, everything served up to you. When we built this phenomenal office, then we were like, okay, now what are we going to do? And we thought, right, we've got the human interaction down pat. And now we need to get the digital side of things like next level. And so that's really what we started to do. You know, we started to do all of this social media. No one was doing it 3 years ago. You know, certainly people like yourself are doing it really, really well now. But no one was doing it. There was no information out there for the community, for the people, the option to buy property away from the real estate portals. You know, it was never a thing.
And again, all of that you talked about was all about doing it for other people. You know, because and let's talk about your office space for a second, because there would be a level of judgment or a perception out there that the reason why you've got the chandelier and all that, it's a self-indulgence thing. It's a you know, a self-grandeur sort of thing. This is just them. This is just the NOVAKs just trying to be Billy Big Balls about the whole thing, right? But what you just said there in a very natural sentence that you just said, it was that we had the human interaction piece down pat. And you're making people feel special as they walk in, right?
Absolutely. So when we built our offices, which was about 4 years ago now, and we're in DY, Andy, we're not in Double Bay. We're in DY. DY was not the cosmopolitan hub, you know, 4 or 5 years ago. It certainly has transformed into that since Meriton moved in, but it wasn't. So, you know, I remember we had all the window wraps on our windows. We've got a huge street frontage, 6 metre glass windows. And when we peeled those off after we did the reno, Mark and I were sitting in the gutter across the road, and I remember just going, oh my God, DY is not going to know what hit itself. But it wasn't about having the biggest, most glamorous office. That was never what it was about. It was about making sure that if we were going to go next level digital, that we made sure we had the human interaction there. A place where people that were giving us their biggest asset to look after, to sell or to manage, were felt like they were being treated really, really well. What do you do with people when they walk into your home? Do you just give them a glass of water? Or do you make them a beautiful cup of coffee and give them something to eat and say, come into our home, sit down, let's get comfortable? And that's what it was all about. It was about human interaction.
And you know what I think? The secret sauce is to all of this, having listened, you know, listening to you and this for me, I reckon is probably going to be a key. And you correct me if I'm wrong here. I think realistically, if you are having an attack of anxiety because you have a fear of being judged, then, and you tell me if I'm right here, then the motivation behind whatever it is that you are about to do is not being geared towards the right person, because the motivation is geared towards you building your brand as opposed to serving the people that you are supposed to be serving. Is that, do you reckon that there's some truth in that?
100%. So you absolutely, you know, if the motivation genuinely, like, you know, hand on my heart, if the motivation is genuinely to help people, then how can you fail? Really, how can you fail? You know, this hub that we've created here in DY, that I reckon is one of the world's best real estate agencies. I know it is, because we've had people that have walked in here that have said, I can tell you now, I train all over the world. I've been to so many real estate offices all over the world. I've never seen anything like this. You know, if the intention is when you walk in and you make your clients and your community feel comfortable and you say, this is here for you all to use, and the intention is there to help people, how can you fail?
You're spot
How
on.
can you fail? If the intention is there to say, look at me, look at what we've got. We've got the biggest chandelier, you know, look at us, look at us, look at us. Like, you know, and the same thing with my social media. If it's all about like, look at me, look at me, look at me. It's not about that. I don't care. I don't care if the hair's blowing over my face. If I fell over while I'm doing the video, I'll have a laugh at myself. It's not about me. This is this community, this hub that we've created is not about Lisa and Mark NOVAK. This is there for us to share with you all. It's our home.
I reckon we found the secret sauce right there. Is that ultimately, whoever's watching this, if you are one of these people that is really struggling, and we've all been there, I've been there, Lisa's just said that she's been there, If you are not putting yourself out there as a human being, as you, right? I mean, I want to talk about something else in a second, Lisa. I don't know how much time you've got, but if you are struggling to put yourself out there, then your motivation behind wanting to do it is not aligned with what your job is or what you are supposed to be doing. We're here to serve, and ultimately, if we're only going to try and serve ourselves through what it is that we're doing, then we are going to feel that level of judgment exponentially more than the likes of Lisa NOVAK, who's putting herself out there God knows how many times a day.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and not only that, I mean, we've got, you know, Mark, my husband, and Michael Bergio, one of our commercial guys. You know, these guys tune in every morning at 7:45 a.m. Every morning, without fail, bar Sunday. You will see those guys on NOVAK Facebook and on all of our Facebook pages, actually, every morning at 7:45, without fail. You know, they give 15 minutes of their morning to the community, to the people, great information that you simply can't find anywhere else. You know, and people that are upset with that, well, don't follow us. You know, they're our channels. You got to remember, guys, these are your channels. Your social media is your own TV channel that you are in complete and utter control of. And if you're not comfortable going live, just do a pre-recorded video. If you feel that you need to put filters on yourself, do that. You know, if that's what's going to work to give you the confidence to get you out there on social media to serve your community, then go for it. You know, for me personally, it never really bothered me. What bothered me initially was what I mentioned to you, Andy. It was the noise. Breaking through that was really hard initially. I'm not going to lie, it was. But, you know, once I was off and running and realized that, gosh, you know, this is something that our industry really needed, because the people started to vote. The vendors gave me their listings. The buyers were buying property. That, you know, the people were talking. I was like, hey, this has got nothing to do with Lisa NOVAK. We need this in our industry.
Now, let's just talk. I was going to ask you a different question. I want to quickly talk about the whole filter analogy, right? So people, you know, really professionals in the game, whether it's a physical filter or whether it's a almost like a human filter where they feel that they can't be themselves, whether it is physically, whether it is emotionally or spiritually or whatever the case may be. I don't want to use the word authenticity that much, because I personally feel it's been completely abused by, you know, our industry especially. But when you think about anything, right, do you even give authenticity a thought, or do you just rock and roll?
I honestly don't even give it a second thought. I mean, my most recent live video was one that I've just done this morning. I've got a great property coming on. I got out of my car. It was pouring with rain. I'm thinking, shit, how am I going to hold the umbrella and the phone and my bag and my car key? And it's blowing a gale and, you know, but whatever. Like, you know, I owe that to my vendors, and I owe that to the guys that are following my socials that will be super keen to see this property. It's not about me. And I got in the car and my hair was frizzy and my pants got wet at the bottom and whatever. I don't give it a second thought. No, it's not about me.
I'm so glad. I teed Lisa up there without notice, right? And I was praying that she was going to say the answer that I wanted it to say. Like, I was like, oh shit, I hope she says the right answer here. But the fact, this is what authentic means, Tim. It's when you don't even give authenticity a thought. You can't switch authenticity on or off. It's not a clapperboard. It's not something that you can just put on for a show. You either are or you're not. Lisa is. And the reason why she is because she doesn't think about it. She just does. All right? She just does
think about it. I don't think about it, and I don't really. I think I've gotten to a stage now, Andy, where, with all due respect, like, I don't really care what the haters say. Like, and they're few and far between. Like, don't get me wrong, I get a million comments. I have so much support from my vendors, from my buyers, from my followers, And from the real estate community, I get so much support. I'm eternally grateful for it. One of my favorite sayings is, first they laugh and then they copy. And it always rings in the back of my mind because, you know, some of those people that told me, you know, why I shouldn't be doing this very early on, I train them now. You know, like some people would say, well, you know, you weren't very nice to me when I first started in sales. But I'm like, look, you know, that's all right. I get that. You know, I was the new girl doing something new. Some people thought I was crazy, but I truly believed in it. And, you know, I'm happy to help them out now.
Good stuff. Now, one question without notice, right? What does success look like to you? How do you define success in Lisa NOVAK's world?
So my biggest thing, the biggest buzz I get in the industry is when I know that I've really helped people. That gives me the biggest buzz in the world. I've got a team. These guys will reiterate as well. I do not even think about commission. In fact, I can't stand having discussions in interviews about commission. It's definitely not about the money. And I cannot tell you how much I mean that, because when you actually look after people and you help people, the money comes. So for me, it is all about helping people. And we do that all day, every day. Andy, I'm always posting it on my social media. We change lives. We change lives. You know, I've got clients at the moment that are going through vile divorces. I will hold their hand and take them through that process. You know, we're dealing with people that have just had someone who's passed away and they've got to sell a property. We change lives. Like, how the hell do you put a figure on that? So success for me is when I know I walked away and I think I left my mark on that person. I love that.
I like that. That's a really cool answer.
Yeah.
And what's your opinion? And I want to just ask you your opinion on this. You know, because one of the murmuring sort of topics of conversation within the space is this whole notion that success is judged by GTI. And you just said there, you just sort of alluded to it there, is that, you know, commission is not really, it's not even a thought that you like to think about. But what do you know, when it comes to that whole, you know, because ultimately sales, the success of salespeople, there are tangibles there that can, you know, that you can look to. But for you, is it true that, you know, people that are really within the space that are, you know, doing these $2 million, $3 million GCI years, whatever it is that they're doing, do you necessarily see them as successful in a holistic sense? Or do you feel that the narrative around that needs to change somewhat so that it allows people to feel like they can be more of who they are and less of a, you know, because what we were saying off camera before, like, you know, people that feel that they have to try and be the next Lisa NOVAK, right? Or they have to be the next Gav Rubenstein or the next Alex Phillip or whoever the case may be, right?
Yeah. You know, surely life's more about dollars. Like, you know, for me, the camera switches off and I go home and I put on my trackie and I put my hair up and I take my makeup off, and I've got a beautiful family and a gorgeous husband and, you know, a great, beautiful mom and a gorgeous mother-in-law and beautiful friends. And, you know, exactly what you see is exactly what you get. It's not all white picket fences, don't get me wrong. But this is all about choices. You know, I don't talk badly about people ever. Certainly not in our industry or outside of our industry. I never have arguments with people. You know, a lot of what we do is about choices. So for me, the money side of it, of course, you know, everyone likes to have money, but it certainly doesn't make my world go round. What's super important to me, and when I look at these, you know, $3, $4, $5 million a year writers, is more what's going on behind all of that. You know, are they happy? Are they happy and they content? Those who die happiest win. And so everyone defines that differently. For me, it's not about the dollars. They came as a result of doing what I love. You and that's really important. It's really deep, but it's really important. Ask yourself, are you doing what you love? That's more important than how much GCI you're writing.
100%. And the thing is, right, and I think we don't want to go completely the opposite way and suggest that money's the evil of the whole world, right? Ultimately, if money is what drives you, then fine. Then
without a doubt. Kudos to you, and I'm always saying to my kids, I've got two girls, I've got a 15-year-old and a 23-year-old, and I've always said to them, guys, you just got to do what you love. My 15-year-old's choosing her subjects for next year. She's going into year 11. And she said, Mum, what do I do? How do I do this? And I said, you make sure you're doing what you enjoy, because you cannot fail. You'll do well at it no matter what. Right? That's so super important. So ask yourself, if you're doing what you love, you cannot fail. I see some people sometimes and they're like, they're painters or they're musicians. And I think kudos to you. Like, you're doing what you enjoy and what you love. Like, that's your passion.
No, you're spot on. And my concern with the industry is that so many people, and you would have seen this, so many people come into the space with that natural desire to want to help people, right? And they come into the industry feeling that they can that they can invoke change in people's lives, like yourself, like me. But then they get damaged, then they get scarred by this whole perception of what success looks like, and then they have it redefined to them, whether it's by the office environment that's around them, or whether it's by those external sort of voices that they unfortunately pay a bit more attention to than what perhaps they should, instead of keeping hold of the reason why they got into the game in the first place. I'm really keen on trying to, reduce the turnover of some really good human talent that comes into the game, then leaves the game because they get burned by these external pressures, right? If there was one thing that you could say, and I'll let you go after this. If there's one thing that you could say to those people that just want to focus on helping humans, but are being affected by the external sort of pressures and impressions and perceptions of what success looks like, just say one thing to them.
Don't listen to the noise. Don't listen to the noise. If I'd listened to all of that noise 3 years ago, I would not have been able to help as many people as what I have. Do not listen to it, both in and out of the industry. I've got young girls that message me on a daily basis, Andy, saying what an inspiration I've been to them. Like, don't listen to the noise. If you genuinely think that what you're going to do is going to help people, what do you care about what the opinions of the sheep are?
Lions do not care about the opinions of sheep. Lions care about the opinions of sheep.
And absolutely. And look, guys, I didn't have anyone to help me with this 3 years ago. It wasn't like I could turn around and say, Andy, what do you do when this happens? Or Tom Panos, what do you do when this happens? Because I broke ground 3 years ago with a lot of the stuff that I was doing. So I just had to just dust myself off and keep on going, knowing that I was doing something that was right, that I felt was right. That was the most important thing. So, I've done the hard work for a lot of you guys. I'm telling you now that this works. You've got to do it, and you've got to do it consistently. You've got to enjoy it, most importantly, and understand that as an industry, this really does help a lot of people. It really does. And if you don't want to list and sell property on your social media, don't. But do a little 5-minute video once a day for your community. They'll love you for it.
Gang, if Lisa is taught the industry anything, is that just do it your way. Ultimately, you can be you and still be successful at the same time. You don't have to put on a facade where you go and sit on a rented Lamborghini for an hour and get pictures. You don't have to go to, and if you want to go down that path, good for you. But you don't have to. You can go about it whichever way you want. There was a guy that commented on the pre-post last night that wants to get into the space. He's a builder. He's got tattoos, and he's worried that he's going to get judged because of his status and he's a burly sort of individual, right? Mate, if you're watching this, that is the one thing that you need to listen to. Ultimately, if your intentions are genuinely to do the right thing by people, it's what Gary Vee says. Doing the right thing is always the right thing to do. End of. That's what Lisa does every single day.
Be yourself, guys. I promise you, you'll be surprised how many people will love you for it, right? And for the ones that don't worry about it. Don't worry about what you're doing. Worry about what they're not doing.
Exactly. And the other thing, just with that, and Lisa, do you tell me if I'm wrong here? Don't worry if you don't get many likes and whatnot. It's not a vanity metric play. Lisa never did it to get loads of thumbs ups. She did it because she thought it was the right thing to do for her people. All right. So as long as you've got that intention, and it's not about ego, it's not about yourself. And if you wanted to learn more about the whole topic of ego, do a YouTube search for Alan Watts, Watts, and type in ego next to it. And there's some incredible insights that he presents around ego and how ego is just purely a self-made prophecy. So just do what you feel is right. If you feel it's the right thing to do, you're either going to win or learn. There's no loss.
Yeah, don't get hung up on the followers and the likes. That's all fake news, guys. It really is. Someone asked me the other day, actually, before I got onto the ARIC stage, someone said to me, how many followers do you have? I said, do you know? I have no idea. I genuinely have no idea. It's not relevant to me. I don't care.
Amazing. Hey, you know what, Lisa? I've taken up so much of your time, and I'm really appreciative. I
really hope this has helped someone out there. I really do. I hope it's given someone the confidence. I truly do. As I said, I did the hard work for you guys. I broke ground 3 years ago, and now, I've given so many tools and strategies away, and I'm always here to help. I do. I get messaged all the time, and I always respond to everybody. So I'm very happy to help anyone out. But I really do hope that, it's helped some of those little demons that go on inside people's heads. And if I've helped one person, our job is done, Andy.
Absolutely spot on, Lisa. Thank you so much for your time. Go and enjoy the rest of your day. I'm sure you got lots on. But on behalf of the industry, on behalf of myself, Lisa NOVAK, thank you so much. You take care, all right?
Pleasure. See you guys. Lots of love to everyone in Victoria. You'll be out this afternoon.
Thank you, Lisa. Take care.
Guys. Bye-bye.